You're listening to the Sports Scramble Podcast, where four friends serve up a weekly plate of sports with a side of SEC bias. Now, here are your hosts, Chet, Jacob, Wade, and Tyler.
Let's go!
Welcome in, everybody, to another week of the Sports Scramble Podcast, brought to you by Baylor Sports. We've got the whole crew on tonight on the special Labor Day. Happy Labor Day. We're laboring. We're working. Not really working. We're just talking. We'll have NASCAR Neil on in a little bit to talk about his weekend in Vegas, watching the LSU Tigers lose again 5 years in a row. Can we all agree? Neil, I know you're watching. Neil's not allowed to go to LSU games.
Yeah, we already discussed that like years before.
Yeah.
Neil, you're only allowed to go to FCS versus LSU.
Well, he went to Troy, and we lost to Troy.
Sunbelt, but yeah.
But still. Yeah, so we'll have him on later in the show. Of course, we'll talk about week 1 college football, recap our bets, our 0-4 bets. We can only go up from here. And talk about our picks on the games of the week. Give our games of the week for next week. We got some NFL news because NFL starts Thursday. So let's kick it off with the NFL. We haven't done the AFC or the NFC West preview. We're not going to do a preview because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The AFC West will be the Kansas City Chiefs. NFC West will 49ers. Anybody disagree on the 49ers there?
I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
Oh, dark horse, Tyler.
You're crazy.
Said nobody ever is the 49ers.
Okay.
Exactly.
You got me there.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the chalk.
Yeah, I think we're all Chiefs 49ers.
Yep.
I think the Rams will be pretty good, though.
I think the Rams will make the playoffs. Yep. I just don't think they're the NFC West champions. So that's pretty simple. There's our AFC NFC West preview. We did that in about 10 seconds. But before the NFL season starts, we got to do some Super Bowl predictions. So Tyler and I were talking about this before the show. You know, you could always go with the chalk. You say the Chiefs are going to make the Super Bowl, but I've got a different pick. From the AFC side, I've got Baltimore Ravens getting a little revenge off last year's loss. Lamar's going to, he's going to play like he always is. They got Derrick Henry. That defense is as scary as ever. So I'm going Baltimore. Then on the NFC side, I'm going somebody a little different, somebody that looked good majority of the year, made some upsets in the playoffs. Green Bay Packers. This is their time to shine with Jordan Love, and I got them going to the Super Bowl, and I got the Ravens taking the whole thing. What do you think, Jacob? Who's your picks?
My pick for the AFC, I think, is the biggest toss-up. I think people have their interpretations of what the New York Jets are going to do, what the Ravens are going to do.
Does.
But I'm gonna take a weird one, only because I feel like people kind of have underestimated them, and their preseason looks really good. I'm gonna go with the Tennessee Titans.
Huh?
Okay.
Tennessee
Titans.
So I'll take a weird one. I think
Will Levis won an MVP or something?
They've got a good receiving core. And honestly, I think they can. Yeah, I think they've got a decent enough team.
Man must be drafting like D-Hop or Calvin tonight or something.
Yeah,
NFC, NFC's weird. I'd love to say the 49ers again, but no, I'm gonna go with the Detroit Lions. I think Detroit's supposed to make another run. So yeah,
I like it. Neil, look at that. We got Neil in the comments. He appreciates the love, and he did better than us this week on his bets.
Yep.
I guess it's all on site luck there in Vegas. All right, so we got the Titans versus the Lions in the Super Bowl. That's an interesting matchup. Tyler, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I think it's no fun to just pick the Chiefs either. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they do make it back. But I'm going to agree with you, Chet. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. I think the addition of Derrick Henry is definitely going to be huge for that offense. And we already know what that defense is. They're going to play every single week. So give me Baltimore. It is a loaded division, so they're going to be tested every single week. But I think that Baltimore makes it back to New Orleans, the last Super Bowl that they were in. Yep.
Forgot about
and
that.
then on the NFC side, I'm going to go with the Birds, go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think they ultimately win the division. This was a team that their season ended not the way that they wanted. Get Saquon Barkley in that backfield. I think with like Derrick Henry, that's going to do well for that offense. So I have the battle of the Birds of the Ravens and the Eagles. And my pick right now would be the Ravens. I think that Lamar Jackson finally gets his Super Bowl trophy.
So big bird game there. Maybe the lights will
birds,
stay on.
Battle of the Bird.
Yeah, the lights
Hopefully
might
they keep
stay
the
on
lights on this time.
It's interesting because you're picking two teams. I would say run heavy offense from their quarterback play, and then of course they both added into veteran running backs in the offseason. So we'll see if they have that much of an effect on their teams. Wade, you're looking down there like you're ready to shock the world with your Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, let's get a little crazy here. I think the Chiefs are gonna like dominate the regular season. I'm talking like New England Patriots style, maybe 15-2, 16-1. But they're gonna have to play the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship. And Joe Burrow, I think they're gonna lose to the Chiefs in week number 2 of the regular season because Jamar Chase has been sitting out. But when it comes playoff time, I think Joe is going to get it done and get back to a championship game in New Orleans where LSU won the national championship. And I think he's going to play Jared Goff and the Lions. It's a fairly
Bengals-Lions, okay.
winnable schedule. Jared Goff gets to play in domes. We know he likes to play in domes. I think if they can get San Francisco to come east for the NFC championship or Philadelphia, and they can play that game at home, I think they can win it just based on talent. And I think it's going to be Burrow and Goff in the Super Bowl. I'll take the Bengals to get it done.
I like it. A little bit of a homer pick there just to make it for our LSU team, who's probably not doing anything this year.
I mean, here you expect them not to do it. You know, T. Higgins, contract squabbles, Jamar Chase sitting out. But if you just look at pure talent, there's not many teams that could match up with Kansas City. I mean, Baltimore's definitely up there, but I'm a little bit worried about the health and the receiving core. But I think the Bengals get it done.
Yeah, I mean, the Jamar Chase aspect, you got to remember he also sat up. It's just the two of us, Tyler. He also sat out his last year at LSU based on a business decision of not playing during COVID. So he's not scared to sit out, but once those game checks start hitting, that's a lot of money they're losing. I think it affects how people draft him in our fantasy football draft tonight, which we'll wait a second, maybe till we get Jacob back, who's having some audio issues. We'll wait to get into that, but he might not be the top 5 pick.
You might honestly fall out of round 1 in tonight's draft just based on that, because it was like the CeeDee Lamb situation, you know, like the Cowboys, they could have done it at the start of their training camp, but for some reason Jerry Jones didn't want to poke out the money, and then they're like, screw it, might as well just pay him. So hopefully that happens with Jamar Chase. But we're sitting here on Monday, and the Bengals play on Sundays, so that's not much practice time that you get. So I know that he's like a veteran. He's been in the league
showing
for a
up.
couple years.
I know that.
He's had.
He kind of stood up and then sat back down.
But that's like if you're on the clock and you have like the 5th or 6th pick in your fantasy draft, like you got hit on that. You can't like draft a guy that's holding out literally game week. So you got to keep that in mind. But for the Bengals, that would definitely be a tough loss. But they do get an easy opponent. I believe they play the Patriots this week in week 1.
It's the Patriots.
They should be able to do that just fine if Jamar Chase doesn't suit up for them this week. And
it's also Jamar's not. Typically, you see these guys do this with like a year left on their contract. He's got 2 years left. And I had a feeling he was probably waiting on the Brandon Ayuk money to drop and to see what he's getting paid. Because, I mean, put him in a room. Jamar's world's better than Brandon Ayuk, in my opinion. And I think the two of y'all would both agree. And what he means to the Cincinnati Bengals is a lot more than what Brandon Ayuk means to the 49ers. So I know he's testing the market. He sees what Justin Jefferson got paid, but Justin waited until he had a year left, right? He did the typical route. You got a year left. You want an extension. You kind of sit out training camp, which is not like he's got to be there anyway. You get the deal done, and you're good to go. He's highest paid wide receiver. Or did CeeDee Lamb just pass that?
CeeDee Lamb's paid higher, and Jamar's going to get paid higher than both of them just based on the market.
You think he goes higher than I could see something very similar, but it's also
certainly higher than Jefferson, but maybe
it would probably be between Lamb and Jefferson's contract, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah,
I mean, Lamb was ultra productive. I mean, Jamar has not had a season at the level of what Lamb or Jefferson has had, but you got to look at the target competition on both of those teams and the quarterback health, and I think it kind of points in the direction that maybe, he's more athletic than either one of those guys, but he probably will slot in just below him based off production.
Yeah, and Joe Burrow's been healthy for his rookie season with Jamar Chase's rookie season. That was it. Yeah, so like you just said, quarterback health plays into it. But I'm kind of hoping the deal doesn't get done for a couple days, and maybe I could snag Jamar Chase in like 3rd, 4th round tonight of our fantasy draft.
I'll tell you right now, he's not slipping past my pick in the 2nd round if he's still there.
So before we get to our fantasy football corner, giving our thoughts on tonight's draft, let's get into week 1 games that we are looking forward to watching in the NFL. Wade, I'll let you kick it off with your week 1 matchup you're looking at.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the flashiest matchup, but I'm looking forward to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing at home against Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. I'm just excited to see Jaden take the field. And I guess I have a soft spot for the Bucs because I like Mike Evans. And
you might as well just be a Bucs fan.
I'm curious to see how they'll do without their offensive coordinator from a year ago, but I think they're going to be a playoff team. So I think that'll be a fun one with Jaden facing off against the Bucs.
Jaden Daniels got a lot of airtime last night at the LSU game. I feel like every other play they were talking to him, we're talking about him. It's interesting Caleb Williams wasn't there. I guess he doesn't like his former team. He hates the Trojans. I heard it here, folks. Tyler, what about you? What's your matchup to watch week 1?
Well, I'm going to go to primetime on Sunday, though. We saw this matchup in the playoffs, and it's pretty much the same teams. It's the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Detroit Lions in the home opener. It was a phenomenal game in the playoffs. I think that 2 good quarterbacks with Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff. So looked for a lot of offense in this matchup, but both defenses did get better in the offseason, so looking forward to that one on Sunday night.
So I forgot to do this for Wade's, but we'll start with yours, so we'll go back to Wade's. Who are you picking? Rams, Lions. The 4 of us got to give our picks, so we can keep track.
Lions, easy. They win.
All right. Wade?
Buccaneers.
Well, who are you picking? Rams, Lions.
I'll take the Lions.
Okay, so we got 2 Lions. Jacob, Rams, Lions.
Detroit.
All right. Well, I'm going to pick the Rams because I'm just going to be different. So we'll see how that fares out.
Wouldn't surprise me. It's a long travel.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, Washington. Wade's got the Bucs. I'm also picking the Bucs. I love Jay Daniels, but first game of the NFL, he's playing at Tampa Bay. I think he's going to do good, but I'm going to slight the Bucs in this one. Tyler?
Give me the upset. Commanders win.
Okay. What about you, Jacob?
I'll take the Bucs.
All right. So we got 3-1 again. 3-1 again. So I'm going to get to my pick here. First game of the season, which is probably going to be a lot of people's Super Bowl picks, Super Bowl matchups, which I could see happening. Ravens versus Chiefs, Thursday Night Football in Arrowhead. I think the Super Bowl winner has lost the first game the last 3 years in a row. So for that reasoning, I am picking the Ravens to take down the Chiefs to open up the NFL season. What do you think, Jacob?
I'm going KC. I just think they're all around too good, and the Ravens. I think they have some learning to do as far as their new pieces and new additions. I just don't think that's something that's going to happen right away.
Okay. I respect it. Tyler?
I had the Ravens ultimately going far this season, but I don't think that Kansas City lets it happen again in back-to-back season openers. They learned their lesson against Detroit in week 1. I don't think they let it happen again. Give me the Chiefs in a tight one.
All right, what about you, Wade?
I'll take the Chiefs. I think they're going to have a
really
really good regular season. I mean, I think their division's so weak, and if they can win some of these marquee intra-division matchups, I think they're going to pretty much dominate per usual.
Okay. All right, Jacob. What's your game of the week for week 1?
My game's gonna be Friday night's game. Is
Wait,
the Packers and the
There's a Friday
Packers
night
and the
game?
Eagles.
Yeah, Packers,
In
Eagles.
Brazil.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's okay.
And they are wearing green, so look out.
So Packers, Eagles. I think biggest thing is how Jordan Love is going to be, considering he's, I guess, the top 3 as far as MVP votes for the year. It
That's
looks
so
like
crazy to me.
preseason wise. It'll be interesting to see how they play offensively. I know their defense is really good. They're young. But other thing is the Eagles too. I mean, some additions over there. Barkley's in the backfield now for them. Some big pieces there. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think the Packers set the tone early in the year, and I'm going to take Green Bay.
Okay, I'm going opposite of you. I'm taking the Eagles. I think the addition of Saquon Barkley in that backfield, we're going to see a tush push. It's going to be the first touchdown of that game. Calling it right now with Jalen Hurts. Tyler, what's your pick there?
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Wait.
All right, we're gonna have a 2-2 split for the first time. I'm taking
Finally. We got an even 2-2 split there. All right, so those are our games of the week. Let's see. We'll look at it next week, see how we did in terms of records. But let's get this over to Fantasy Football Corner. We don't have a slideshow because we're just going to talk about, we got our big draft tonight, our 8-team league. Suck it, all the people that were hating on us. We have an 8-team league, okay?
We also play in other leagues and such.
Yes, we have multiple leagues, but the 8-team.
This is the 8-team power conference.
Exactly.
And it's not as easy as you think, people.
No,
this is
not.
freaking difficult to win in.
Yeah, it's really hard whether I want to start Derrick Henry or Isaiah Pacheco. You know, I have to bench one.
We got some serious players in here, so they know what they're doing. But we got draft strategies. Tyler, I think you have the second pick in tonight's draft. So what do you you don't have to give away your pick, but what's your strategy here?
Well, it'll ultimately come down to who Cam ultimately selects. So I think that he's going to go with Christian McCaffrey, and that's either going to make my pick easier. I'm either going to go CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill. I've been back and forth, and y'all will figure out who I'm going to be picking tonight.
Okay, I like it. I'm trying to pull up the draft because I think Futch, you picked 4th. You remember, Tyler?
5th, I believe.
Okay. Wait, where are you? Okay, so Futch.
Yeah, it leaves me at 2, and then bringing up the
5,
rear
6,
with
7.
5, 6, and 7.
So what are you thinking, Jake? What's that draft strategy tonight?
I don't have much of a strategy going in. I think ultimately I'm going to see where the first 4 picks go. It's either wide receiver or RB. Obviously, I struggled with running backs last year. That was a big part of my struggle, even with the best record in the league, and ended up friggin' just salting it away in the first round. So,
Number one curse.
I think I'm probably going to go RB early. I don't know after that what I'm going to do, but I think there'll be a lot of options there.
Okay, well, running back early, if you want, I think there'll be probably
between Brees Hall and Bijan. Yeah. He's not taking Bijan, so it's going to be Brees Hall.
Yeah. What do you got, Wade? What are you thinking tonight?
I tend to want to get one of the power wide receivers. Mike
Evans, round 1?
No, probably in that range. I could realistically get Jefferson or St. Brown, Jamar Chase. I'd feel good doing that. If one of the big-time running backs were to slip, then of course I'd consider it. And then should be a quick turn. So if one of the other top receivers is sitting there, it'd be awfully tempting. Or I could go get a running back like Gibbs or someone like that.
Yeah. So I have the 7th pick, and I think I had a 7th pick in our 8th pick towards the end of the round in our other league. And I had Justin Jefferson sitting there. And I was contemplating taking him. Of course, he got sniped from me. But it's the quarterback play is going to be the concern. I know he's going to get a lot of targets and probably have a lot of yards, but I just don't think the Vikings are going to be good this year. So I went with AJ Brown in that draft, which I felt pretty good about
right there.
Philadelphia. And so I'm thinking he'll probably be sitting there in 7.
Especially if you can get Jalen Hurts as your QB.
Right. I can kind of stack that. I'll have the 7th pick in the round 1 and the 2nd pick in round 2. So I might go wide receiver. I mean, it all depends on who's there, right? But I have a feeling I'm going to go top wide receiver and then grab a running back early round 2 and then go back for another wide receiver. Because I think the wide receivers, there's more of them. There's more volume there. So if you go wide receiver, running back, in the past, I've gone wide receiver, but then you're stuck with nobody as your running back. I mean, you're starting, what's his face from Washington, not the one that got shot last year and ran out on the field. Yeah, I'm starting Robinson.
But there's some sleepers out there. I mean,
I know.
running back this year.
But I'd like to actually get a name to be my starting running back and not have or Leonard Fournette and Le'Veon Bell and both of them get cut.
Josh Jacobs.
So, yeah, Najee Harris and Josh Jacobs. That was my running back situation last year.
I would take Jacobs this year.
Yeah.
I did something crazy in our friends league. I went power running back strategy, and it was a decision I made on the fly, but just having a pick towards the end of the round, and then that was a 12-man league, so it was a little different, right? But towards the end there, I mean, there just weren't many round 1 receivers that I felt were available, and I saw 2 guys that I think have potential to be the running back number 1 overall just because they're good receiving threats as well, and that was Travis Etienne and Gibbs from Detroit. And I think getting a good receiving running back is just such a power move in fantasy football. So getting a guy that can get you points per reception, but also get a guaranteed 15 to 20 touches and goal line carries. I mean, to me, that's a really good end of the first round pick or beginning of the second round.
Yeah. Receiving backs are huge. That's why I grabbed Austin Eckler there at the end. I mean, Jane Daniels, rookie quarterback. Eckler's notorious he's a receiving back, and I think he'll be a good check down guy for Daniels. So I'll probably try to grab him somewhere as a sleeper pick this year, unless one of y'all snipe me from him. Any other advice, Tyler, before we hit the draft tonight?
Nope. Just hoping to turn things around and get out of the freaking toilet bowl this year.
You're hoping to draft.
Gotta hit it on these draft picks. I was the opposite of Jacob last year. I was stacked on running backs and just dog water at wide receiver. So that's why I'm really wanting to go wide receiver this year.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep it balanced, but I feel like every year you just kind of get into a snowball.
Yeah.
Like, well, I got to get this guy.
We're going to be talking about this and be taking quarterback in round 3.
Exactly. So, well, apparently Patrick Mahomes will be there in round 5, according to one of the comments, which I think is asinine. He will be there in round 5. So we got that tonight coming up in a couple hours. So we're doing our show a little early. Look forward to NFL football starting off, but everybody's favorite, college football, is back. We had a pretty good week 1. Some sad games. Talking about LSU there. But before we get into the game breakdown, we got to go to our Building Dat Bankroll. Well, let's see if the graphic works this time.
It's time for Building Dat Bankroll.
Also got another one I want to throw in there.
Tell them to bring me my money.
Brought to us this week, that's for sure. Going 0-4 in our
broke that bankroll.
Yeah, broke that bankroll. But hey, we learned from our mistakes.
Damn Hokies.
Yeah, I guess a little recap. Florida, that's on me. Miami beat the shit out of them. All right.
We drank the damn Kool-Aid too.
Yeah, that's on me. I'll take the blame for that one. Jacob, South Dakota State, what happened?
Honestly, they actually played pretty well for the majority of the game. I didn't pick them outright anyways, so I mean 12.5 points. I think I picked it at 13.5.
It was at
and for it to be 24, it is what it is. I mean, just don't know.
Yeah, good old Ollie Gordon was rumbling and dumbling all around the stadium. DUI, who cares? He's going up and down the field. Tyler, South Alabama versus North Texas. That was a close one for the majority of the game.
I was just so disappointed with that defense, man. Giving up 52 to North Texas and Chandler Morris, you couldn't throw a damn pass at TCU. You kidding me? I mean, Gio Lopez threw for 400 yards. I mean, it wasn't the offense's fault. It's like the defense. Like, what the hell is going on? So, yeah, disappointment by South Alabama. So, hopefully they can bounce back. So, but that was their first loss in quite some time because last season they covered like every week it felt like except for the Troy game. So, the Jaguars might not be as good as I thought.
And then Wade, I thought this was a great pick. I'll be honest with you. Virginia Tech just 13.5 for Vandy. Vandy shocked the world. I mean, look at them. They're back. Vandy might win the SEC this year.
I mean, it was a very solid win for the Commodores, and the bet never stood a chance because Virginia Tech was losing the entire game.
Like 17-0 at one point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that's when I knew it was over.
It was a miracle it went to overtime, really. But go Vanderbilt. I mean, look, it's a head scratcher for sure to me, but Vanderbilt came to play.
That they did. So 0-4 week 1 for the guys. Let's see if we can bounce back this week. Here's what I've got. I'm going to the NFL, which is kind of hard to do week 1 because you don't really know what anybody's going to do. But I was looking, and the Dallas Cowboys are traveling to Cleveland to take on the Browns. The Browns are favored by 2.5. So give me the plus on the Cowboys, plus 2.5. I think they win that game probably by 7-10 points there. You got to think the Browns don't have Nick Chubb. Starts the season on the pup, so it'll be 4 weeks before he's back. I believe that's the limit. And then Dak's got his weapons back with CeeDee Lamb. He's got his boy Ezekiel Elliott. He'll feed. Defense is always good to start the season. So give me the Cowboys at plus 2.5. I don't know if it's going to be like that come Sunday, but it is right now on Labor Day. So. Wade, what's your best bets here?
I'm gonna kick it back to college. I'm gonna take Oklahoma State -7 over Arkansas. Now, Arkansas had a really solid week 1. We were very impressed by their running game. They won 70-0. But it was against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Not saying Oklahoma State had a huge challenge themselves in week 1. They handled business against a much better FCS team. But I trust the Pokes in that run game to just be able to run all over Arkansas, and it's at home. So I just don't see the trap appeal that Vegas is seeing. So, yeah, I'll take Oklahoma State. I think they win by like 14 plus.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Arkansas is just –
I would take an extended line even if it got me to plus money, I would keep upping that up.
There you go. All right, so we got Wade, Oklahoma State -7 versus the SEC, Arkansas. Tyler, what's your bet this week?
All right, well, I'm going to go to college football and hopefully bounce back in this one. I'm going to go to the Mayo Classic and take Rocky Top Tennessee to cover -7 versus NC State. NC State's a bunch of frauds. They barely beat West Carolina. Nico is going to throw all over this sorry defense, and this is going to be like a 42-21 game. Give me Tennessee to cover this one pretty easily. If you want to move that up to 10, go for it. If you want to move it up to 14, go for it. They're going to win.
Whoa.
Okay. I was watching SEC Now today, and they're talking about Nico being the Heisman, and he should win the Heisman this year. And I was like,
they beat Chattanooga, people.
Let's pump the brakes. They played Chattanooga, all right? Nico's probably going to, I believe, a transfer next year. So, what do you got, Futch? What's your pick?
I'm going to go to a Big 12, Big 10 matchup, 2:30 game in state. That's Iowa State, Iowa. Iowa is the 2.5, and I honestly think they can probably cover 6.5 at home.
That's one of our games of the week. So good pick there. I like that. I think big defensive matchup there for Iowa and Iowa State. So let's see how that goes. Not a lot of points. Probably take I think the over/under is like 35 for that one. So before we get Neil in here, let's look at our picks on last week. I went 1-2. Tyler went 1-2. Jacob 2-1 because he picked Notre Dame, and Wade 1-2. So not a great week for all of us. Week 1.
Hey, speak for yourself.
What the only bet I won all weekend was?
What's that?
Georgia kicking ass, and it was just a straight up bet the line on Georgia. Don't get fancy. Take the number 1 team in the country and let them do work.
Yeah. Jacob, did you pick USC?
No.
No.
I don't think he did.
I don't think so.
Then how are you 2-1?
I don't know. Why'd you list me as 2-1 then?
You picked Notre Dame, didn't you?
Yep.
That's why
okay,
he's
so yeah,
2-1. He picked Georgia.
Brain fart. He did pick Georgia. 2-1. There you go. All right. So let's we're gonna have Neil join for the picks as well. So let's get NASCAR Neil in here, recap his week in Vegas. Neil, how's it going?
Neilio.
I am very tired, let's be honest. I took a red eye last night.
Delayed red eye, so even worse.
It was supposed to be at midnight. I didn't leave till 2:15. I landed at 7 a.m. this morning in Texas. So got a little bit of sleep on the plane, took a nap this morning, but I am exhausted.
You sound like you were yelling a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I was yelling too at my TV. I've taken it to 24 hours to decompress. I think Brian Kelly should be fired if we don't make the playoffs. That's my take for this season. Take your points.
Are you going to be paying the $56 million?
Wade will pay it. I don't care. Let's get to just the atmosphere in Las Vegas. Tell us about that, Neil. I heard you won some bets. Everything was looking good.
Tigers took over that city. Everywhere you went, this purple and gold. All the Uber drivers were talking about it. They were talking about every Uber driver we got in the ride with. They were like, "There's a lot of purple here." We're like, "Yep, we took it over."
Travel's good.
My mom and I went. We booked it through the Traveling Tigers. The Alumni Association was nice. We had 2 events with them at the Mandalay where we were staying at with that whole group. It was fun. Giant tailgate party yesterday. I went a little too hard at that. I'll leave it at that.
He got his travel vouchers worth.
It was free beer at that event. And I was throwing it back pretty hard, and I was feeling that whole first half.
We knew it, Neil, when you sent us the same text twice, but
slightly
different.
Did I? But yeah, it was fun. Good atmosphere. A lot of Tigers fans. Good time. Bets were good, actually. I made 3 bets. I went 2 for 3. My mom also made 3 bets as well. We went over to the Circa for the morning game Saturday, which is nice. Their sports book's really, really nice. It was a fun time. And we're sitting there watching the Vandy game, and I'm like, and y'all know me, I like Vandy a little bit on the backside growing up there, so they were up 10-0, about to score that second touchdown, and the live line came out at Virginia Tech +5. So I'm like, I'm gonna go hammer that. I got a feeling Vandy's that's about to shift. So I took it.
You took Vandy +5?
Yeah, I took Vandy +5 live bet right before
this
scored.
When they're already up 10.
Yeah, it was, and I was surprised the line was still there, and I'm like, that's too good. Vandy was doing then they started, and then Tech started coming back, and then as Vandy was set up for that game-winning field goal, I'm like, I went ahead and got in the line to get ready to go cash it out because I'm like, okay, we should make this pretty easy. We were trying to get back to Mandalay. I had my fantasy draft yesterday afternoon, so we were trying to get back there so I could get some. We're going to eat, and I was going to the draft while we're eating kind of thing. And I was trying to get back there, and then of course they missed the field goal, and I'm like, okay, we need to go ahead and go. I don't want to be trying to do the draft from the Uber, that kind of mess. But that bet won. Friday night, I bet LSU gets the spread at 4.5. Lost that bet.
Me too, brother.
But then yesterday morning, I played with blackjack, got up pretty good money. I was like, I'm going to go bet the under after y'all were giving me shit last week when I said I was going to bet the under. And you guys were like, do it. I'm like, I said I was going to do it. I did it. And that game started. I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good about this. So
yeah, when it was 0-0 after 1 quarter.
So getting back to the hotel last night, I walked the sports book, had to make sure I had the right ticket to give them because I had the 2 tickets in my wallet. And they go, I'm like, at least I won one of these bets. And then my mom bet the spread, LSU spread as well, and lost that one. But she bet the Notre Dame money line, won that. We were at dinner Saturday night, and she won that. She was all excited. And then she had a gut pick on Idaho to cover.
Which I told you was insane.
What was it, like 40?
Yeah, I was like, dude, don't pick.
It was something like
40. I mean, it's week 1.
She had a gut feeling. She was like, I want to bet something crazy just for
Who are they playing?
Oregon.
Number 3,
Oregon only won by 10.
Yeah, and she did that bet, and we were sitting in the sports book watching the first half of those 2 games before we went to dinner. And the guys were sitting with some LSU guys. One of the guys I actually had classes with, funny enough, at LSU. He was a year behind us. He was a civil kind of guy, and we had some class together. I think Wade, you probably had class with him too. I think he's in our statics class. We took it that summer, I think. It's funny enough. But and they're like, "Oh, you're crazy. She's like, "Nah, I got a feeling. And then we were at dinner again. We're keeping up the scores at dinner. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna win this bet." She was so excited. We back in cash, and then the guy at the counter was like,
Must be
"That's
nice
insane."
to win that.
That's probably the only Idaho ticket they cashed all day.
Probably so. But she was just happy because and they were giving her looks when she bet it because she doesn't bet. She doesn't know how that works. I'm explaining to her how the odds were, and she was like, and she was confused, but she doubled her money though. Like she'd only bet $20 total on those two bets and won them both. So she was pretty happy. It was kind of fun walking back. I was texting my sisters about it, and my little sister called her like, so we're going to shopping street. Mom was like, no, I won $20. I'm not going shopping. It was fun.
One beer and a hot dog at the game.
Maybe
pretty much, yeah. It was, but it was still a fun atmosphere, good time. Massive crowd of LSU people walking across the bridge. Because how the stadium sits compared to Mandalay, kind of thing. It was a nice walkover. Leaving was a nightmare. They had all the kind of barricades up, and people were just hopping the barricades trying to get out of the stadium.
Bunch of pissed off LSU fans.
I won't lie. I jumped over the barricade and fell.
That just sums up the night, doesn't it, Neil?
And I was sober at that point. I was
like Major Burns.
Yeah,
I was just. But when it comes to the game, though, I thought our defense came out pretty good. Offense looked good in the first half until they shifted that entire play calling, and I was like, "Why are we? Why are we throwing the ball? Why are we throwing the ball here? I know they were trying to make their run game work, but it wasn't working. Like we were playing like we were up 20, and I'm like,
we were scared to lose, and we wanted to run the clock out up by 4 points. That just doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to get into. There was, you said, Neil, first half looked great. Was it tied at halftime? We were up 3 at halftime, something like that.
We were up at it was tied at halftime because they missed that short field goal.
Yeah.
So
and then us not going to the field goal
finally took the lead.
Yeah. And then us not getting that field goal made me so mad. I'm like, we're down here, and they were coming towards us when that happened. So I'm like, why are we doing this? It's early game. Why are we going for the points here? It made no sense. Now I have to take the points there.
Brian Kelly did the same thing last year against Florida State. We drive right down the field. They stop us on third down. He doesn't kick the field goal, which granted that Florida State game got away from us. Okay, that it is. I think he did it the year before too. He's aggressive, which is nice on third and fourth down. But when you're in the red zone, take the points. Just take.
And it's early game. I mean, I saw a stat that that Lacey only had 2 targets in the second half after being
and I want to talk about that too. I mean, he had 11 targets or 12 targets in the first half. He scores a touchdown. He pulls out the chopper and shoots the USC corner. All right, whatever. Okay, gets the penalty. That Brian Kelly has a tendency to punish his players during the game. Yeah, I get it. You want him to be better? Make the man run stadiums on Tuesday. Okay, don't take him out of the game and scheme him out of the game because he did something stupid. All right, and then you talk about we're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. Well, guess what? It wasn't working. Passive, we were on fire. Okay, it was great. Yeah. Jacob, I see you down there. We'll get to Penn State. Y'all looked great.
Go ahead.
So it's looking great. Nussmeier's, we didn't know what he was going to do. Obviously, he's not Jaden Daniels, but he sat in the pocket. He went through his progressions. He took the dump offs when he needed to. I thought we played good. Defense, I was shocked. I mean, you couldn't want anything better than what they did. Come out of halftime, that first drive, both teams go 3 and out. You're like, all right, whatever. Tick for tat, both go 3 and out. And then we went right down the field. We were running the ball. John Emery, hello, what is it, 2019? I mean, he's 6th year of eligibility. He's running the ball. Aaron Anderson scores. I was like, all right, we got this figured out. And then they just decided to go 3 and out and run the ball up the middle every time.
Yeah.
I was like, what are we doing? USC made an adjustment. We needed to adjust to them. Yeah. It just didn't happen. Brian Kelly did the same thing. Gets out coached.
And there was
He's all pissed off. He's all pissed off, slamming his hands. We got outplayed. No, we didn't get outplayed. You got outcoached, you loser, you bum. If we don't make it to the playoffs this year, he needs to go find the $56 million Scott Woodward and get him out of his contract. That's my take because I'm tired of sitting around watching the same thing. There's easy adjustments. You take the points, all right? You continue to throw the ball. You got a dude that throws it 80 yards. Take a deep route. You got guys. Xavier Thomas is the fastest player on the team. Send him on a go route. See if he can make something happen.
Ultimately, he put his young quarterback in a situation where he had to go prove himself, which is what he was trying to avoid all day by running the ball and playing conservatively. And Nussmeier answered the call. He went down and led a game-tying drive.
Exactly.
And then we came out and played very conservatively on defense and didn't send any blitz.
I told y'all, prevent defense prevents the win. That's every time.
Especially when they only need a field goal. If they need a touchdown, sure.
Yeah, and what really got me was there were some awful calls. I thought that targeting call was kind of dumb.
The targeting call at the end.
I mean, it wasn't targeting though. I mean, it was clear.
That was a full-blown target. There's no way.
I mean, that's just Sage Ryan being Sage Ryan. He couldn't cover anybody worth of shit all night. We should be used to that. Sage Ryan is a bum. Major Burns is a bum, and we're gonna have to deal with this the same.
Yeah, that kind of happened
all entire year
for me. Didn't show the replay, bro, on the screen, so it was kind of like I couldn't tell that penalty for taking off the helmet if we got the silent. I thought that was kind of a wishy-washy call. They're
going to call it though.
Yeah.
I mean, that one really hurt because
that put him in on the 10-yard line.
The difference was in the ball game. USC was disciplined. LSU wasn't. They're playing like childs out there.
Which is
USC's defense was the credit of this game. Like, you got to give credit all to the defensive coordinator because we heard all about the talk of USC bulking up. And we talked about all this offensive line. Will Campbell being like, "Oh, we're going to go in there. No, we're not going to teach your pal."
Did we? Because you got 2 false starts.
Shit. Freaking USC's offensive line and defensive line control that game from start to finish. So you got to tip your cap to Lincoln Riley.
I want to say there was a lot of missed holding calls. And I know this is typical LSU fan. We lost the game. Blame the refs. I'm not trying to.
It doesn't matter what we say. Nothing's going to change on the field.
But there was a ton of missed holding calls on our defensive ends. Finally, Savion Jones got to Miller Moss. Look what happened. He fumbled the ball. I mean, he got around one of these holding calls. I was shocked. I mean, we were worried about question mark that, LSU's offensive line is going to be no problem. It was kind of swapped. Our offensive line looked terrible, and our defensive line looked great. I mean, I was shocked.
Yeah, but that D-line play really didn't surprise me with our new coach there. Man's a stud, so as a coach, I thought it was pretty good. It was good to see some good D-line play at LSU. Me, I'm a homer for our D-line. But, those are my guys. So,
yeah, I thought the D-line looked good. We finally had some interior defensive linemen getting some pressure. I mean, they really couldn't have played much better. It's just that, the offense went so vanilla there in the third quarter and the fourth quarter that they were coming off the field in 3 plays, and the defense got tired.
Yeah. So Josh got a comment here. Lincoln Riley has a defense. The LSU has a worse offense. I think Lincoln Riley has a defense, and I don't think it's our offense. I think it was the play calling. I think it's the coaching.
And Miller Moss is a dog.
Man, Moss is a little punk.
I mean, also throw in the fact that
he made the plays when the offense.
No, number 10 made the plays, and he's going to be a Burrow churro in my dynasty league next year because that man has hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and to me, I thought our offensive play calling was going to be better because of how we promoted within, for OC, and those guys had a big role last year in play calling. I thought it was going to be a lot better. I didn't think our offense was going to take that big a step back with that kind of move there. I thought Hankton and Salone were going to be aggressive like they were last year, but they really weren't. How much of that is Kelly stepping in? That's
I feel like there's handcuffs on them.
I mean, it's not uncommon to have head coaches that have their game plan and they want the offense to go that way, and they don't necessarily let the coordinators do what they want to do. I mean, we saw that under Coach O a little bit on the defensive side of the ball.
And it was his tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still hadn't figured out Harold Perkins. I texted Joe, I think it was the 3rd drive of the game when he came off the end looking like damn honey badger, stripping the ball out of nowhere. And that's all you saw of him. People are saying, "Oh, Perkins is lazy. He doesn't want to play." No, they're scheming him out of the game again.
Yeah, my mom said the same thing last night. And she knows ball. I mean, you guys have met her, and talked a little bit before with her. She watches the defense like it's more than she does offense. She was, and she was like, "Why is it Perkins a factor?" I'm like, "I know we got him at the inside now, which is what Coach Baker recruited him to be, more the inside guy." And then the last year we didn't use him that way. It's good to see him back in there, but if we could get our scheme figured out with him, I think it'd show a lot better for us. But we don't know. But it's also one. You never know. I hate how we keep scheduling these tough games. In the fact the next 2 years, we have Clemson back-to-back years at home and home.
Yeah,
but it's something about the Clemson game next year. we only have 11 games on schedule right now, so I think they're trying to schedule a week 0, which I would love. Let's
You know
play.
who needs to be fired? Verge Osbury for scheduling these games.
I disagree. I think that if LSU wants to be a top 5 brand in college football, you should keep playing these games. And if you can't win them, then let's go play Alcorn or let's go play Troy or someone. If we want to be Mississippi State, we can be Mississippi State. But if we want to be LSU, then we need to be able to go beat USC.
To that point, though, 2019, who do we play week 1?
Georgia Southern.
Yeah, and we won a national championship. I think it's stupid to.
Well, you can still play a big brand name, just playing week 2. Week 3.
Yeah, exactly. That's
what Alabama does.
We should be striving to beat Georgia every year, and Georgia went and pummeled Clemson.
Yeah.
So this is the age-old conversation of strength of schedule, which number one being if there's a tie at the end of the season, it does come down to strength of schedule. Does it mean more for LSU to play, Alcorn Central or whoever, or does it mean more for them to play USC? That's the thing. So,
but what's the difference playing USC week 2 versus week 1? You just take Nichols and USC and swap them.
Yeah, but
you still got them on the schedule.
Commitments too. You can't
screw their commitments.
Why would you schedule like 10 years behind the 8 ball when like half of the country is playing Furman and all these other crap schools getting off to a 1-0 start? So and just deal with it. If you can't win the big games, then you shouldn't be the damn head coach at LSU. Even freaking Les Miles can win these games.
They're the ones
scheduling them. If we want to be the big dogs of college football, we should be able to win one of these games.
We ratted it out about Les Miles and Coach O. Hell, at least they could have won at least one opener. Brian Kelly can't win.
And I'll say this. I got to ask this Friday night by a guy in the local media. They were grabbing people from our event for asking interviews, and they asked me about neutral site games. And I'm like, never again. Don't do neutral sites. So I'm glad Clemson is a true home and home.
Yeah, I do like the home and homes.
I just don't like us playing neutral site games. I think college football should never be played in NFL Stadium again, including the national championship playoff games. They should always be on campus. Get rid of these NFL stadiums. It is not conducive to college football. The fact that you have to do a tailgate inside a bar, to me, for these NFL games is dumb to me. There was no tailgating around the stadium, which to me is half the fun of college football is the on-campus atmosphere. And I was like, and at this meeting, I was like, you sure? I'm like, no, I'm a dead set against us playing on NFL
I hate neutral site games. I get it for the national championship. That's different. Okay, you don't want somebody to have
neutral site at home. You still should be able to win these type of games.
It looks like you're going to be playing neutral site next year anyways, because it looks like you're going to be playing a week 0, and it ain't playing week 0 at home. I can tell you that.
Yeah, they will. They'll play week 0 in Baton Rouge against some no-name team like Furman.
Right. You'll be the next team. You'll be the next team that goes to freaking Ireland and gets their ass kicked.
Brian Kelly does want to do it.
Hey, you know who's laughing at us? Notre Dame fans are laughing at us. They're sitting over there 1-0 with Marcus Freeman. They got the easiest cakewalk to 12-0 that they could get.
Did y'all see the video of him going into Texas A&M? That's what I want my coach to look like. Fired up. He's telling the crowd to bring it on, not Brian Kelly with his shirt buttoned all the way up. Dude, unbutton the damn top button, okay? He's sitting there like this. We'll pick a better game plan, all right?
Yeah. And his post-game interview I thought was
slamming his hand,
let's move on.
Players. He's blaming his players.
He always does that though.
Yeah, that's what so one thing though, to Wade's point, you mentioned it. 12-team playoff. LSU can lose week 1 and still be okay. All right. You got a very good chance to go to face Texas. You learned from it. In case
how many points will Ole Miss put on this team? 40 or 50?
I'm not worried about Ole Miss.
Walking on water.
I'm not worried about Ole Miss. All right, it's in Death Valley. Ole Miss starts hot every year, and then they finally play a team. Then that's the
Who's
thing.
Gonna cover
they
those
played
Furman.
They played Furman. They'll figure it out, but I am annoyed that it's the 5th straight year with a loss. I mean, some positives you can take away. Nussmeier looked really good until that throw that he missed to Aaron Anderson. That he makes that little out route throw. That changes the complexity of the entire game. That's a first down. You probably score the next play because you're on the 2 or the 3
might have scored on that play.
Exactly. So little things like that, that's what you miss. I talked to Big Mike. I wanted to get a player's perspective because I know he's been in these games. I think he won every week 1 game he played.
No, he didn't. We were pretty bad week 1 we were there.
I'm trying to think of what. He won the one with the national championship.
We won that one, and then 17 against BYU. We lost every other week, one game besides those two, I think.
Yeah. So maybe there's your recipe, Neil. LSU just needs to schedule cupcake teams. He said that the team looked hesitant on both sides of the ball in the second half. Nuss seemed scared in the pocket when the game mattered, which I kind of agree with. He was a little hesitant to unleash it. Why do we keep putting Perkins in coverage? Let him do what he does. I think every LSU fan's been screaming that. O-line looked about as strong as wet toilet paper coming from an O-lineman himself. We couldn't get the run game going to save our lives. But honestly, I was pleased enough with the defense. Not sure how we shit the bed on 2nd and 15, but liked what I saw for the majority of the game. They were getting good push and creating some pressure in the backfield. I agree with them on that point. I don't think the defense is the problem. I think it was just coaching. He got out.
I think that we didn't want to trust our quarterback to take that from a 4-point lead to an 11-point lead, and then all of a sudden we were trying to
run the clock out.
Down.
Yeah, he kept saying we're going to establish the run. We got to establish the run. Well, they did, and then he just stuck to it, hard-headed. I'm going to keep running the ball and try to bleed the clock. Which, Nico Wabaliva said, we put our foot on their throat. We're going to keep doing it. I love to see that. That's what you want to see when you're up big. They won 76-0. Or 69-3.
Did you guys see the comparison of our offense play calling being under Kelly being under less? Because that was a very
same.
That's a very less-esque offensive game there.
Yep. I don't think Garrett Nussmeier's the problem.
Like I said, let's win these big games, man. You hated on them.
Hey, Brian Kelly could never win the big games in Notre Dame. We're seeing it at LSU.
Wes got a natty. Brian ain't going to win nothing.
Yep. Yeah. Couple more years to this. Maybe we'll let the buyout drop to $25 million, and we'll tell them.
But we get to play Dabo next year, and Dabo might not even. He might have the
same thing in Clemson.
That's the same thing in Clemson. From the 3 game.
Yeah,
Dabo can scheme a game. He just can't. He doesn't have the players to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bring Dabo to Baton Rouge and see. Just kidding. I don't want that.
No. Dabo can stay in Clemson.
But one last thing I want to say about the experience. Did y'all see that shot count thing they had going on?
I saw some of it on Twitter. What was that all about?
It was at this place up in the Mandalay, and it's I didn't actually go by there. I just saw it when we were at the tailgate, and we didn't make it up there before we left. But I saw it from some friends who posted it. But we had them 2-1 on the board when I saw it, which is fun to see. It was. We
can't win a game, but we can win a drinking competition.
But to me, but to me though, it was it's kind of biased because it was at a hotel that majority of LSU people were at. So if you done a more neutral site place down the strip, maybe a little more even. But because I didn't see many USC fans there, especially on Friday, because I believe it started on Friday, and I didn't see any USC fans show up Saturday night. Is when I started seeing more of them.
It's 4 hours from LA. That's just a hop, skip, and jump for them.
Yep.
Yeah, but I remember even traveling on Friday, my flight from Dallas had a lot of people that were flying out of New Orleans and other small Louisiana airports that had connections in Dallas, and they were all over. I was talking to LSU people. It was fun to see those guys, even in Phoenix. A lot of purple and gold there, which is I was surprised to see that. I was traveling in my usual attire. You guys know me. I don't like traveling a lot of LSU stuff. Typically, I throw a hat on because I'll throw an LSU hat on just so I can give the nod, kind of thing. But there was fans everywhere. But then I did see more than the UC fans did kind of show up late, but it did make more sense for them. That's a lot closer. A lot more people LA go to Vegas more regularly than us, so it's kind of more of a destination thing for us. I feel like as well.
Yeah, we like to travel. We'll win a party. We just won't win a week 1 football game. So let's get before we get to week 2 games. Futch, Penn State coming into whatever Rocky Top, whatever the hell they want to call themselves, not Rocky Top, West Virginia.
Country roads, man.
Yeah, they just let them have it. I mean, Penn State -8.5 is the best bet I had all weekend. Pat McAfee, it was the hype. He tried to get him going, and the team just didn't show up. And for some reason, I am on West Virginia Twitter. I don't know why. Okay, it's as bad as LSU Twitter now. Every tweet I see is them complaining about their head coach, and now they think they're going to win the national championship because he shaved his beard. They're saying, oh, he's ready to rock and roll. He is serious. He's taking that loss to heart, and we're going to win. We're going to go to the playoffs this year. Fletch, what'd you see from your Nittany Lions?
I saw a pretty composed team. I was pretty excited. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, basically clean house other than the person that everybody in Nittany Nation wants gone, and that is James Franklin.
Hey,
get you to the playoff.
No, I'm pretty happy with what I saw on the field. New offensive coordinator dialing up plays. Basically, has said that you won't see more than 8 plays before they try to dial one up deep, and that was pretty picturesque of what the game was. So I was pretty happy to see Drew Aller throw it down the field. Pretty happy to see the aggressive play on offense. 34 points is pretty good, especially after you have a delay for 2.5 hours.
I think they had 2 delays, didn't they? 2 other delays?
Nah, just one.
Okay.
During half. So
game.
Yeah, the Kentucky game they just called it. They were beating Southern Miss so bad.
They're just beating the crap out of Southern Miss. Like, yeah, go back to Hattiesburg.
Yeah, we're just gonna get y'all out of here.
So Drew Aller, 11 for 17, only threw the ball 17 times, and he scored 34 points. Pretty good. 216 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, didn't turn the ball over, which was really good. Even Bo Prabula coming in and was 1 for 1, threw a touchdown pass to Tyler Warren. I was happy with that. And, but offensive player of the game had to be Harrison Wallace. I mean, 5 catches for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns, with the long being 50. So super, super happy with that. Nick Singleton looks like he's already put himself on the list possibly for a Heisman with 13 carries, 114 yards, and a touchdown.
He looked great.
So I was really happy offensively. Defensively, I was super happy with the tackling. Penn State's really had a bad history of opening up and not being able to tackle. And it looks like they got away from that, and they've actually started to dial it up a little bit on defense and come after him. I think that's a credit to Tom Allen coming in from Indiana and really just going all out. So
he left check and bomb program to go to Penn State.
Yeah, so definitely happy with what I saw there. West Virginia, I heard a lot of talk about how Garrett Green was going to be their guy. And they were going to be
burning in Morgantown right now.
Yeah, they were going to be hard to stop. He was, a dual threat. Well, I mean, Garrett Green really didn't do much of anything as far as running. I mean, he carried the ball 10 times for 5 yards total for the game. So that'll tell you only 85 rushing yards in the game for West Virginia, 161 passing yards. So it was really hard for them to move the football. They couldn't even get a snap off right. I mean, they were hitting the guy coming in motion with the ball and fumbling the ball all over the place. So for a team that's ranked 33rd in the country, they did not look like the 33rd ranked team in the country going in. So I was really pleased with where we stood after that game and just going in there and taking care of business and moving on. I know we got a couple of cupcakes the next 2 weeks before all out hell for the rest of the year. So
for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, at least one of our teams got to win. We'll be Penn State fans for week 1.
This is exactly why I think
1-0.
Penn State could be the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs in my preseason picks. They showed it on Saturday, that's for sure.
I mean, I think Penn State defensively, out of all the teams I saw play defense all weekend long, between them and Georgia, by far the best 2 teams all weekend long that played defense, and it's not even close.
Bold there. So Penn State's winning the Big Ten.
Right. I think that was the 2 most balanced teams that we saw play football this weekend was Georgia and Penn State.
They show up, they do what they need to do. But they're not flashy. They wear the same uniforms, and they just do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
I like it. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get to week 2 game of the week.
There was one thing I wanted to add because Jacob mentioned the delays. Did y'all see the Kentucky game getting delayed and they ended up ending it early?
Yeah, that's what I was getting to. They were beating the doors off of Southern Miss, and they just said, "Whatever, game's over."
Yeah,
third quarter.
I think that's fair.
It was 31 like 2 a.m. or something when they ended or something. I think I didn't even see the end of it. I'm like, I'm going to bed, but it was crazy.
Yeah, 31-0. Southern Miss didn't have
If you stayed up for Arizona and New Mexico, you got a lot of points in that game.
Yeah. What was the final score there?
69-31.
Jeez, son. All right, so let's get week 2. Of course, there's one big matchup everybody's thinking of. Finding the other two were a little tough. But week 2, we're going to start off, really, I think game of the week. I believe College Game Day is going to be there. Number 4, Texas, going on the road to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan at number 9. Fun fact, Michigan is the lowest ranked defending champion since I read it. I think it's Colorado in 1937. Lowest ranked defensive champion to start the year. Both of them 1-0 to start the week. Of course, Texas played Colorado State. Quinn Ewers sliced them up like fresh brisket. No problem there. We even got to see Arch Manning come in and do his thing. So not much. I mean, the Texas defense looked great. I think they held Colorado State to less than 300 total yards. It might be less than 200 total yards. It was 200, 300 when I was reading the stat line. Texas is favored at -6.5 going into Ann Arbor, so that should tell you something. Interesting to see Davis Warren as the starting quarterback for Michigan. Big old what's-his-face, Orgy, came in and to open the game, threw a touchdown.
Yep,
and
they threw one pass, and that's it.
Yeah. And they went with Warren. He looked sharp, but it was a much closer game going into the fourth quarter than anyone anticipated against Fresno State.
Not Jacob. Tyler, I think you saw that one in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of a concern for Michigan fans. I mean, you had Texas met expectations, demolished Colorado State. On the Michigan side, Donovan Edwards, where were you? Are you just on the cover of College Football 25? Because you didn't have
much. He had
a
touchdown.
Game. 11 carries for 27 yards. I know he had a touchdown, but it was from like the 2-yard line. I mean, it wasn't much.
Hey, it's not like Fresno's defense is bad or anything. Like, they're pretty good for being a Mountain West team.
Yeah, but you're the number 8 team or number 9 team in the country, defended champion. I think a lot of people had high hopes for Michigan. I'm not buying it. I'm taking Texas to cover for sure, and I'm taking the Texas defense to just smother Mr. Warren and have no problem with an orgy. Texas 42, Michigan 27 is my final score prediction there. Texas, they're gonna roll in there. Quinn Ewers is gonna be slinging it, and we may see Arch Manning at some point in this game.
Okay.
So let's go a little round robin here. Tyler, what's your prediction for this game?
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a good game. As always, I hate that it has to be at 11 a.m. This deserves to be a night game, but you know, Fox just likes to ruin everything about big games in college football, I guess. But nonetheless, I mean, obviously, if you look at their week 1, you feel good, feel more confident about Texas going into this matchup. Michigan struggled with, like you mentioned, I thought that Orgy was going to be their starting quarterback, so I was surprised seeing Warren start the game. But the problem that I see is if Michigan can't run the football, then how are they going to be able to score points against this Texas defensive front? So I would get the edge for Texas. I think that Quinn Ewers is obviously good. So with that being said, I'm going to have Texas losing. Everybody thinks that Texas is going to come in here and whoop them. And this is where this is where they love to be, in that underdog role. So give me Michigan in a close game. I'll say 24-21. The Wolverines stay undefeated, and they stake their claim in the Big Ten. We saw the Big Ten win these Big Ten versus SEC matchups. Look for that continue in week 2 in the Big House.
Okay, that's not where I thought you were going with that, Tyler.
Everybody's
threw me for a loop.
Poor old Michigan, and Michigan's going to beat them.
All right, Wade, who do you got?
Hey, I'm drinking the orange Kool-Aid. We've hated on Texas for years and all this, but I'm buying into them this year. I think that they have a really good defense, and I think they have one of the more experienced quarterbacks in the country. And originally I was drinking the Texas Kool-Aid and still had them losing this game, but I really didn't like what I saw out of Michigan. I just think they're going to struggle to move the ball on this Texas defensive line with the inconsistencies at quarterback. And if they can't establish the run game, it's going to be a long day. So I'm going to take Texas. It's not going to be as high scoring as Chet says, in my opinion, but I am going to take them 24-17 Texas.
Covering the spread. NASCAR, Neil, who'd you pick here, Texas or Michigan?
I got Texas. I thought Ewers looked really good on Saturday. He looks like he's playing kind of how he played in the Big 12 championship game last year, which kind of made me see him as a Heisman frontrunner based on how he played that game. So I'm with Texas.
All right. And our Big Ten specialist,
Mr. Big Ten.
He hates Michigan, but he hates Texas also.
So, yeah, this game's interesting. I think you guys hit on all the major points except for one, and that is Michigan's front offensive line there. Their front is pretty bad, it looks like. It doesn't look like
toilet paper bad?
They can't move at all. And, I mean, the issue is that Texas's front seven looks pretty good based on what we saw. Granted, they did play Colorado State. Yeah, it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think Texas is going to be able to get some turnovers, and that'll be the difference in this one. I think Texas probably covers that line just fine. I got 28-17 Texas.
Okay, so
Tyler, Mr. Lonesome.
Lone Michigan man.
The lone Wolverine.
Lover himself.
Hey, man. Not all of us were – I mean, we can.
Hey, last year I was all on Michigan, and they won the championship.
All right, so going to our second game of the week. Little in-state rivalry game. Futch mentioned them earlier. We got Iowa State taking on the number 25 team, Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa is currently a 3-point favorite. Over/under is set at 3.5 or 35.5.
Yeah, 3.5.
Right, exactly.
That could happen. It's an Iowa.
Who's going to kick a field goal?
The Iowa came out of nowhere. Week 1, they put up 40 points. I was shocked. Actually, the line was 41. The over/under was 41, and they won 40-0. So Vegas was pretty close on that one. Defense, of course, still looks great. It's Iowa. What do you expect? And like I said, they got a little bit of offense going. So Iowa State, I think, can win if they can stretch the field, hit some of those deep balls early, and kind of get Iowa playing back to really take advantage and start running the ball. But I don't think it's going to happen. I do have it as a low-scoring game, hitting the under. I got Iowa 17, Iowa State 10. What do you got, Tyler?
Yeah, I think that it's just going to be, as usual here in this rivalry game, it's going to be a defensive battle. Iowa State didn't really show too much against North Dakota. They won 21-3 in that matchup. Iowa, slow start with Cade McNamara, but that offense got going. Ended up winning that game 40-0. So I don't think they're going to score 40 points in that game. If they do, Iowa might win the Big Ten at that rate, the way that their defense has been playing. But I think that Iowa, the line the last time I saw is 2.5. I think that they cover that pretty easily. So give me 24-14. This is always a defensive battle like it always is. So give me the Hawkeyes at home at Kinnick.
You're taking the over in an Iowa game. Are you crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm rather with them.
Nope, not crazy. Crazier things have happened. So give me Iowa.
All right, Neil, let's just jump ahead there. What do you got? Iowa taking the over here?
I got Iowa and the over. I think Iowa showed that they can play offense on Saturday. I was watching that game. I'm like, 40 points against a small school, against I forget who they even played, but
I don't remember.
But they came out looking good on offense. That defense is what we always expected from them. Iowa State, I don't really have much faith in them. Really, I think Iowa wins it pretty handily in the over. Like
Iowa played Illinois State.
Illinois State, that's right.
Okay.
Wade, what do you got for us?
Give me the Cyclones. I mean, I think you can throw all the logic out with a early season rivalry like this. I mean, Iowa, to me, they're just fool's gold at this point. They didn't play anybody good. I mean, if they won 40 to 0 or 10 to 0, I would probably think the same. And I just don't know that this team's going to show up offensively against a Power 5 team. I have more trust in Iowa's offense. I think they're both good defensive teams. So it's going to be low scoring. But give me Iowa State in a wacky one. It's going to be like 22-21 or some random
crazy number. Scoregami?
Over.
We go over a scoregami.
Scoregami. This is a scoregami game. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's get us a scoregami.
All right, Jacob, Big Ten again. What's your prediction?
You got my prediction earlier. I've got Iowa winning. I think they will cover. Yeah, I don't think this is going to reach the line or the total point line at all. I've got the final being 14-7.
There we go. Something very,
that's an Iowa
football. Very mundane.
All right. So
taking Iowa State 19-17. That's my final.
Hey, that's a cover for Iowa State.
3-2.
19-17.
So let's go to game 3. Ranked matchup here: Tennessee versus NC State. We were touching on it earlier. Of course, NC State struggled week 1 with Western Carolina. I think it's who they played. They were actually trailing by 4 going into the fourth quarter. Ended up winning that game 38-21. Tennessee, Chattanooga, they just absolutely demolished them 69-3. I would think a couple of years ago, this game looked like a great game on paper, scheduling wise, but NC State just didn't look that great week 1. I meant to do this for the Texas game, but it works for Tennessee. Give me the Volunteers, baby, taking down the NC State Wolfpack in a big one, 42-21, Tennessee.
You steal my score.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler.
All right,
NC State's the agricultural school of the two.
Yeah, but Tennessee likes to wear cowboy hats.
Which makes no sense. That makes no
Tennessee,
sense.
Baby.
It's all mountains.
Well,
not a cattle in sight.
Well, you walk anywhere in Nashville, you're going to see a cowboy hat. You know Tennessee's not there, but it works. It works because I forgot to do it for the Texas game. Tyler, what do you got?
Well, I already touched on this one. This was my best bet of the weekend. So I'm going to go with the Tennessee Volunteers. I can see the Wolfpack. He's wearing a crock pot on his head. Nico's going to be cooking this defense. Ever since that Jacob said the crock pot, all I think about is him wearing a crock pot saying
that's what it is. It's a crock pot.
It looks like something you get your steamed dumplings in at the local Japanese restaurant.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah,
I must not have seen this. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Said 42-21. Frick it. I'll go even more. 49-28.
It's a 7.5 point spread. Forgot to mention that. Big win there, Tyler. Big win.
All right. Hey, I got Tennessee in the playoffs, so.
All right. Wade?
I got Tennessee winning it as well. I'm not that bold, but yeah, I think North Carolina State still has some question marks on offense. Look, we saw Grayson McCall hit the portal 2 years in a row, and it sounded like maybe Auburn wanted him, or Kentucky, or South Carolina. And there was like academic issues, or maybe he was like their second choice. And I don't know. I'm not buying the hype at North Carolina State. I just don't think he's like a star player. I think he deserves a chance at the Power 5 level, but Tennessee's the real deal, in my opinion. So I think they get this done. I'm going to take Tennessee. Let's go 31-17.
All right. Also to add, it is the Duke Mayo Classic, our favorite bowl game of the year. It's got a in-season game. NASCAR Neil, Tennessee or NC State?
He hates Tennessee. Here comes North Carolina State.
Yeah, y'all know that. I despise them. They're fans of some of the worst sports fans that exist on this planet. And so because of that, I got to go NC State. Just because I can't cheer for Tennessee. I never can, never will. And y'all know when they play a school I also don't like, I cheer for both teams to lose. So I got to go NC State here.
A meteor hits the stadium. All right, Jacob.
Or a big old mayo.
Well, big old bowl of mayo just cancels the game.
I'm gonna take Tennessee. I think Tennessee probably wins this game. I think it's actually going to be pretty close, to be honest with you, for the most part. And I think Tennessee probably scores. They probably score a garbage time and cover at the end of it. So I'm going to go 45-31 Tennessee. I think it's going to be a high-scoring shootout.
Okay.
All right.
45-31. That's we're all about the points here on Sports Scramble. So I think that's all we got on college football. I do have Dog of the Week. Any other college football tidbits to add in? Any other games? How about Colorado? Not looking great.
They got the job done. They won. I'm interested to see how this week's game goes against Nebraska.
I was just very impressed with what Miami did. Cam Ward for Heisman after week 1.
Yeah, hold on. We'll get to Cam Ward here in a second. But yeah, Colorado's taking on Nebraska. That could have been a game of the week. We got Patrick Mahomes lookalike and Shedeur Sanders playing each other. So
I honestly think Nebraska. I thought about Nebraska -7. I think that they can do that.
Ooh, -7.
They're going to want some revenge. I know that game was a blowout last year, but I feel like there's a whole different feel in Lincoln this year.
I don't necessarily like either team, but I do like the home team in that one.
All right, let's get to dog of the week. Everyone's favorite segment. Who got that dog in them? Neil, we're kind of three in here, so I don't know if you have a dog or not.
I do.
All right, well, we'll let you kick it off.
I'm getting ahead of myself as I'm going to talk about it later in my segment toward the end of the show. But my dog is Tyler Reddick, having a flu game type situation yesterday, sick as can be, ends up winning the regular season championship, and it's being called the flu race because he drives for Michael Jordan. So got to make that comparison there. The guy had his kid got him sick, and he was feeling good going up the race time. Stomach issues the entire race, still ran hell of a race at the hardest track. And it's, so and then to squeak by and get the regular season championship by doing that is kind of impressive.
Hey, those damn kids, man. You got to be careful. My dog of the week, Tyler just mentioned him, Cam Ward. That's who I'm picking. He comes into Miami, into Florida, into the swamp, and just dusts them. Florida never had a chance. Hit him with the U a bunch, making throws all over the ball field. How about that last touchdown, though? I mean, the dude in the back of the end zone escapes pressure and puts it on a dime.
Yeah, can I change my ACC championship pick again for like the third time?
Nope. You got to stick with the original.
Miami.
So this game, his stat line, 26 for 35, 74% completion rate, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. A lot better than the past 2 seasons where he's thrown 30 interceptions and fumbled the ball 46 times. That's why I picked Florida. I figured he was going to be Mr. Butterfingers back there with the hot and humid climate. The ball was going to weigh like 25 pounds. No, he proved me wrong. He went out there. He dominated. Hats off to Cam Ward, dog of the week.
Yeah, the Miami Cowboy.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to just leave the hat on for the rest of the show, especially when we get to NASCAR here in a couple of minutes. Tyler, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go to college football, go to the group of 5 here. This team got a big victory on the road at Georgia Southern. It was a high-scoring shootout with the Eagles and the Broncos. I'm going to go to Boise State's running back, though. Ashton Genty had 20 carries, 267 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Thought about going with Notre Dame's running back because, my gosh, if he played EA Sports College Football 25, he's unstoppable. But Boise State has the funniest thing to do this week. They go on the road to Eugene, Oregon. I am going to be rooting like hell for Boise State to pull off the upset against the Ducks.
I'm watching Wade edit his dog of the week pick in the document as we speak. That was it.
All right, Wade. I thought
I have 2.
How are you going to pick against your sister at school and go against?
Because she only made it to halftime because her friend got heat stroke.
Yeah, heat stroke. Come on, kids.
All right.
Better excuses there. Just tell the truth. All right, Wade, who's your pick?
So my sister missed the final 4 touchdowns by Mr. Gentry. But no, that's quite okay. The one time I'm prepared and actually put my picks in, get sniped.
I thought about it.
Hopefully that's not to come in the draft later, but that's okay because as you were saying that, I was like, this guy's going to get no love on the show. And it's Tet McMillan, not Chet. Tet. Short for Tetsporia, I think. Anyways, he is a wide receiver at Arizona. He had a really good sophomore year last year. He's back this year. And he's like a Mike Evans clone. I think he's 6'5", 210 pounds. So you already know I like him.
All right, you need to get Mike Evans jersey at this point.
You got a problem.
He had 310 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. So that's pretty good too.
310.
Yeah, he had 300. He was cooking.
What did their quarterback finish with?
I'm not sure, but I like him a lot too, and they just
keep talking.
Threw it
I'll
up.
let you know.
I like Arizona as a dark horse in the Big 12. It took them a little bit to get going against New Mexico, but New Mexico did play a Week 0 game, so they were warmed up a little bit, but they pulled away.
So, Wade was just mentioning his wide receiver had 304. His quarterback had 422.
So he got the majority. How many catches did he have?
He had 10 catches for 304 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Cow.
That is impressive. Yeah, I thought about him, Wade. I was between him and Boise, so I'm glad that you took him.
See, everybody gets the love.
Jeez.
Yeah. I didn't think you were going to go against Georgia Southern, though, but all right.
Hey, I'm neutral.
All right, so last thing we've got is our NASCAR Neil update.
Start your engine!
Well, we lost the engines part. For some reason, it cut off. But
I got it
All right, Neil, what you got for us?
All right, so this week was the regular season finale at Darlington. That would normally end it at Daytona, but with the Olympic break, they shifted it back a week to the historic Southern 500. It was coming down to a tight battle there. We had 3 open slots going into the race for the playoffs, and Bubba Wallace, who desperately needed to have a really good points day or even win, more likely win, got his first pole of the year, was looking pretty good, but it ultimately did not work out for him. And then we had Truex get in a wreck on lap 3, and he was on the bubble. He's one of the guys that was kind of sitting kind of safe, but to go out lap 3 was getting kind of dicey there, whether or not how other guys felt if he was going to make it. But he again ultimately made it on points with Gibbs also making it on points, which is impressive for this sophomore driver making it on points. And ultimately, Chase Briscoe gets the win for Stewart-Haas Racing, which this could very well be the last win for that organization because they're shutting down at the end of the year. So it's kind of nice. I'm repping another SHR driver because I was like, I got to,
Neil, you should buy the team.
You should buy the team, Neil, with all your bets you won this weekend.
I don't have about $50 million, sadly.
Get your comfort.
Well, can you pay Ryan Kelly's buyout?
Yeah.
No, but it was kind of.
I want Neil Racing in the future.
Just Neil.
Yeah, but it ended up. I obviously missed the race because I was at the game. I caught some highlights last night while being delayed at the airport because what else I had to do. And then
what else you gonna do in Vegas at 1 a.m?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's endless opportunities there, Neil.
There was nothing else to do at the airport. I got to the airport at 10:30. There's nothing else to do at the airport. No, those were closed when I got there. Still, but it was still, from what I gathered, it was very similar to the 2020 Xfinity race at Darlington, with a giant late battle between Kyle Busch and Briscoe, much the same way it was in 2020. Big win for Briscoe. Like that guy loves that team. Is big for the 14. Being a diehard Tony Stewart fan, you have the opportunity. And then also to have with him going to the 19 car next year, that's kind of a good momentum shift. And I saw a thing where Joe Gibbs, the team owner, met Briscoe's parents for the first time. That in victory lane though, and Joe Gibbs made a comment to him, "Oh yeah, this will happen a lot for us." Like being very confident in him taking over the turnkey thing. And Briscoe is a solid driver, and it shows why he got that ride to be. I mean, he's a fast driver and stuff, so it just helps him with momentum going to the playoffs. I mean, he made the playoffs there, but it's going to be interesting to see. Like how well he rolls with it. We have a lot of guys who are kind of one-off winners. It is kind of crazy that Kyle Busch missed the playoffs for the first time ever in his career. I mean, the man's never not made the playoffs in his close to 20-year career. It's just
good consistency there.
Yeah, and he was, a foot from winning it at Atlanta this year during that extremely close finish where Suarez won. And he's been faster recently. He may still keep his streak of a win every year because he's won a race every single year of his career. He has the speed. Maybe they were going to some tracks that kind of favor him a little bit. That we could see that happening, But the playoffs are shaking up pretty good, and it will be really interesting with some of these guys who don't have that many playoff points. I mentioned Tyler Reddick a minute ago winning the regular season championship. Big time there. That was a close battle the last month, really, who's going to win it, if Larson was going to get it. And there's been a lot of debate with Larson missing the 600, if he'd made it there or didn't, or skipped Indy, whether or not he would have actually won that and won the 15 bonus points for it. But ultimately, even he said in the media, it's like, I lost by 1 point. I could have made that up a lot of places. He had multiple DNFs this year. So, it was a really, close thing there that doesn't get a lot of talk about it, but it should be, because in NASCAR, you get bonus points based on how you finish the regular season standings, with first place getting 15 and going down to 10, which really helps because those points carry over every round going forward, But speaking of the playoffs, this first round is probably going to be the wildest first round in the playoffs in recent years, with all 3 races being wild card races. We started at Atlanta next week, another play track where we saw a 3-way finish. I think it was in 0.08 seconds was the gap between first and third there. Will be really interesting. It's going to be a lot hotter there. They race there in February. It's a lot cooler. It's going to be a hot one probably this weekend outside of Atlanta. Then the next week we go up to Watkins Glen, New York, road course. Some guys are, we got some guys that are better road courses than others. And supposedly they're bringing a new tire that has up to 4 seconds of fall off. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays a factor. I know last year, I think it was Briscoe, might have ran the entire race on having one wheel run the entire race because it got stuck on and it just never blew. So it'll be interesting to see how that tire wear goes. Then to round out that round, we got Bristol. Short track, it's never really know what can happen there. That first round will be really crucial to see, how well do these guys that don't have a lot of points, does one of them come out and win Atlanta and lock themselves in, or do those lower guys like a Harrison Burton, a Daniel Suarez, a Truex, a Gibbs, how well do they run and try to make up that the disadvantage they're at starting with, below the line for the week. And then we roll into round 2. We got Kansas, Dega, the Roval. Kansas, pretty standard race, nothing crazy. Talladega, anything can happen. It's Talladega, should be a good one. I'm looking forward to that. And then we end it at the Roval, another road course. You can kind of go either way. You never know. Some guys are better than others. But then round of 3, the third round is Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville. None of those really come across to me as wild card races, except for maybe Martinsville. And it depends on how it happens, But back to Bristol. I forgot to mention this, but it'll be interesting to see if they have the same tire issues they had within the spring with tires constantly blowing out and having massive wear there. Was that just a freak thing with the weather, or is that actually the norm? Let's hope it's the norm, because that was a very exciting race to watch. And then we got Phoenix for the championship in about 2.5 months.
So the playoffs, that's a 2.5 months. That's a while. Who's your pick to take it all, Neil?
I'm going to give my final 4. I think it's going to be Bell, Reddick. I'm thinking Elliott and Larson. I think it's going to come down to 2 Gibbs cars and 2 Hendricks cars. Elliott's been consistent all year. It's Kyle Larson. But then I think Bell, he won there in the spring. If he can make it to that final round, he's been very consistent the last 2 months. I think Bell has a good shot at winning it. So I'm going to go with Christopher Bell.
Nice. All right, Christian Bell, cash your ticket now.
Yeah, and then
NASCAR Neil's best bet.
But I did bring some other notes because don't come on very often. Some other stuff that's been going on in the news. I figured I'd save for now. Recently, that the schedule came out for next year. We got some kind of crazy new things. They're going to Mexico City next year for a race at where F1 races down there. Should be exciting. They ran there in the lower series in the mid 2000s kind of thing. Be interesting how that goes. The Clash is leaving LA and going to Bowman Gray Stadium, which is this track that's around an actual, I think it's like a FCS school or something, but it's a place they race there every weekend. It's kind of known for being called the Madhouse. It's just wild. It's, and there's no inside wall. They just go around the outside of this football field. You'll have guys crash in the middle of the field. It's some people consider it embarrassing to racing. Other people don't. It'll be interesting to see how it goes, how they format it. Do they go back to the old format of only pole winners get in, or what they do because it's not in LA and it's closer, so it's not as big a deal for teams that don't make it, and then they shifted the playoffs around a little bit. Darlington's back in the playoffs like it usually is. They moved Watkins Glen back out of it. Homestead, Miami is sadly not in the playoffs anymore. They're moving it to the summer because they're adding 2 new TV partners this year. Amazon's going to have 5 races, and so will TNT. So they're kind of putting some main events on those 2 networks, which will be exciting to see for the summer to kind of help them out a little bit. I think TNT opens up with Atlanta, which will be exciting after how this year went, But overall, I think it's going to be a good schedule, good variety. And there's a few dates got moved around. I do think the playoffs, if Bell doesn't win it this year, like I said, he'll probably win it next year because next year the playoffs shape up extremely well for him. A lot of his tracks he's really good at are all in the playoffs this year or going for next year. So be exciting. Silly season wise, I forgot to include this 2 weeks ago because y'all were kind of busy and I slacking a little bit. But SVG, that the guy whose name y'all love to try to pronounce it, I can't ever do it, is going to the Cup race next year for Trackhouse. It's been rumored and expected for a while. What is shocking is he'll be driving the 88 car, which kind of everybody figured he was going to be sticking with his 97 that he's ran over in Australia and all that kind of stuff. But they decided to go with the 88, and then another prospect for Trackhouse is also in the 88 for JRM. So it's kind of like that's kind of turning into their third number now, I guess, and they're going to use for all their drivers as they come up, And I mentioned it last week. I really want to touch on again how big last week's win was for the Wood Brothers. I know I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but that was just an insane kind of thing that got a lot of love this past week in all the media, how big it was for the oldest team in the sport. Like, they're older than the Petties. Petties are always the name everybody knows, and all the names that are driven for them, and then for it to be a Burton to drive the car, that's another big time family in the sport, similar to the Earnhardts and the Petties and the Jarretts. It's another dynasty kind of family that's been around for a long time to have one of them get the 100th win. Dale Jarrett, I mentioned, he drove that car back in the day. His son was the spotter on the roof. So it's kind of cool to see a lot of big name people in racing tied to that historic win, which was exciting to see, But yeah, I'm looking forward to the playoffs. It should be a good year. It's NFL starting now, so it's kind of tough. I got to pick and choose which ones do I watch, which ones do I try to, do I watch my phone as I'm at my usual Sunday watch party for NFL, or what do I do? Do I leave early some days, or kind of what I'm doing? So,
well, Neil, it's you'll have to let us know how the playoffs go. That's 2.5 months of racing.
10
That's
weeks.
a lot. I'm gonna
10 races.
I'm gonna tune in for the last 2 laps of every race, like I did for the last one. So it seems like the best way to watch.
Hey, next week and then Talladega are the best to do it because those races end wild, like always.
There you go. Well, we appreciate you joining, recapping your weekend in Vegas. That's all I've got for tonight's show. Tyler, Wade, Neil, Jacob left us early. Y'all all have a great week. We'll see Tyler, Wade. I'll see you in about an hour and a half for big draft night. I hope you all draft terrible teams and I win the championship.
I leave you with this, Chet. Jamar Chase sat out practice today.
There you go. So, all right,
Certainly
y'all have
looks
a good
like
one.
a week one holdout.
Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hit that subscribe button. We will catch you next week. Go Tigers, I guess.
Go Scotty Scheffler.